Cloud. Okay, off we go again. Session 2, traditional lead gen. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do a share screen and we're going to pick up our PowerPoint presentation and move on. Okay, why didn't my house sell? I get that a lot. I had, in 2018, about half my business was expireds. And the people that I would call would say, well, where were you when my house was listed? Why didn't you bring me a buyer then? Well, I didn't have anybody that I was working with that it was a fit for. So they'll say, well, you can sell it, you know, you've got the information, you can sell it, bring me a buyer. I'm not going to list it again. Okay, well, it'd be a lot easier to find a buyer if we had the listing, but oh well, here we go. So when you call expired, sometimes they're frustrated, they're disappointed, they're mad at their realtor who didn't sell it, and sometimes the fault is the realtor's fault, sometimes it isn't. Often it is, I'm afraid to say. All right, let's see here. Kind of move along here. There we go. Okay. So the more I worked on this segment of deals, the better that I got. There's some glare here. Let me get rid of that glare in my eyes. Pick up. There. My car parked right outside my window. Makes a lot of glare on my screen, on my eyes. Okay. I had a virtual assistant that lived in the Philippines. She was an offshore virtual assistant, and she would help me make these phone calls to call expireds, especially on the 1st and the 15th of the month when there's a way bunch of them compared to a regular day, which there might be 2 or 3 on any given day. But on the 1st of the month, there's usually 60 or 30 to call, and I can't get them all called. Anyway, virtual assistants are not allowed in New Mexico, so unless they're licensed. So you might even be asked to be somebody's virtual assistant to make these phone calls, and that would be good experience if you get that opportunity. Expireds work best in a buyer's market when sales are slower and there's more buyers than sellers, and sellers are having a hard time getting their property to be chosen, usually because of price. We might be coming into a buyer's market when we get done with this COVID-19 thing. I don't know yet. But there's expireds to call almost every day in our market. Do you guys know where to find the expireds in the MLS? Have you ever looked for them? If you go into GAR and go into Flex, every day you're going to see, today we have 40 expired listings to work with. Now, when they expired exactly, I'm not sure if it's 1 week. I think it's a 1 week window. 40 listings expired. And we go to the last 24 hours, there were 8 that came up this morning as expired. That's 8 potential sellers who wanted to sell but couldn't sell. You're also allowed to work on the canceled ones. There's 8 more. 8 more people who tried to sell, and usually a canceled one is canceling because their circumstances have changed and they don't want to sell anymore, but sometimes they're firing their realtor and they still do want to sell. Withdrawn, you're not allowed to talk to. Those are still under contract. Now, honestly, I used to call them anyway, just to find out what the situation was and find out if they really had fired their agent, but the agent isn't letting go of the listing. And if that's the case, then I would see if there was any way to help them get out of their deal, their listing agreement. Usually there isn't, because the listing agent is being stubborn and trying to hang on to it with their claws in the back of the seller as the seller's walking away to say you're fired. But you know, if sometimes it's because the seller has changed their mind about selling and the listing agreement, the listing agent is still not going to let them out of it. So withdrawals you have to be very careful with, because if the listing agent finds out you're bothering their client, they could file a complaint, they could get mad at you, they could have a very poor opinion of you because you're trying to poach their client. So I approach those with caution, just to find out what the situation is and see if there's a time in the future that I might be able to help them when their listing agreement is up. And maybe they have a good reason for not wanting to sell and they're just not going to sell. But maybe they do want to sell later on. So can't hurt to at least ask. Okay, so that's 16 new possible leads this morning. Okay, all right. And even, you know, even though it's a seller's market right now, we shouldn't even be seeing any expireds. Now, why would they be expired? Anybody got an idea of why listings would expire unsold?
Price too high?
That's what I was going to say.
That's
Yeah.
usually why. That is usually why. So it takes a little bit of research to figure out why. I have a marketing piece that I use specifically for expireds, and it says, here's the 4 most common reasons a house doesn't sell: poor pictures, poor marketing, lousy agent, or the wrong price. It's usually price, but not always.
2 of those are new home,
Yeah.
Hakes, 3 of those are Hakes Brothers new home construction.
Yeah.
build.
Yep. And here's one priced at $250 in Jemez Pueblo. That looks kind of interesting, but because it's out in the boonies in Jemez Pueblo, could be why it didn't sell. And it's priced at $250. And it's a little bit of an odd looking house in terms of, you know, functionality and so forth. And it's just red dirt everywhere. So it would take a special person who would want to buy that property. Got a dated kitchen, a funky kitchen. Who was the listing agent on it? Crystal Sadowski at Realty One was the agent on it. So we'd have to do a little research here to find out, was it overpriced? Is it just because it's unusual property? Were they not willing to show it? Here it says they needed 2 hours of notice to show it. You know, does it have a tenant in it? Is that why? Here's a lot, a vacant lot. Those are hard to sell. This was out in Rowe, New Mexico, wherever that is. And so there's some reasons why it would have changed, not sold. This is 409 in Los Ranchos. You know, is this priced correctly? It would take a little bit of investigating to find out. It does look like it has good pictures, so that's not why. Sometimes I'll see an expired listing and it has 3 dark, ugly pictures, and that tells me a good reason why it didn't sell. But more likely this one is a little bit overpriced. And so sometimes you can come in and talk to that seller and show them the comps and show them why it needs to be priced a little bit less. And I find it doesn't even usually need to be that different of a price. Sometimes I've even gone in and raised the price on an expired. And that's happened a couple of times, and I still sold it faster than the other agent. In this one, maybe it needs to be priced at $399 to get the buyer. It's just not hitting the right price point because it's over 400 in a neighborhood that doesn't have anything else over 400 in it. That could be all that it needs. Okay, so that's a preview on some expireds. Let's go back to our presentation here. Okay, you need a good data source to find these phone numbers and emails. And I reach out both ways. I usually try to call first, and if I can't get through by calling, I will try email. And I've had people email me back and say, I'm in Washington and I can't come down to deal with this. Tell me more about what you could do for me. And I've gotten clients that way. The Red-X, Mojo, and Vulcan 7, and there's also one called, I think, Land Voice. I'm not sure if they do expireds too or not. But these are the 3 top ones: Red-X, Mojo, and Vulcan 7. Let's go over there and check them out. Okay, so I don't have accounts with any of these anymore. But let's go see what they say. Vulcan 7 is the one that I used to use. It's not cheap. It's $320 a month or something like that. And they do limit how many can have access to it in a given market. But this is a great way to get expired resources. They also give you for sale by owners too, but you can get that information off of Zillow, so I don't think it's worth anything to pay for that. It just comes as part of the deal. Expired and FSBO leads. And this is interesting for rent by owner leads. Those sometimes make good seller leads too, because maybe they're tired of being a landlord. You can do neighborhood search and reconnect. I don't know what that means. So geo search and neighborhood search. I don't know what they charge for these services, or whether this is an additional service on top of the basic service. I'm not sure, but you can get 1,000 enhanced lookups, unlimited lookups, target any neighborhood, enter an address, and draw on a map or radio search, and name your search, quickly dial each search. This system has an automatic dialer with it so that you can get through calls quicker. It does the dialing for you, and if you don't get through to somebody, you just press a button and it leaves an automatic message for you that you've pre-recorded to say, you know, hi, this is Camille. I noticed your home had expired, or I noticed that, you know, you live in the neighborhood of such and such, and that's my special neighborhood that I work, blah, 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 blah. I leave a 1-minute message automatically for you. So that saves me 2 or 3 minutes per call. If I'm not going to get through to the right person, it takes care of that for me, and it automatically goes immediately to the next phone call, dials the number for me, much faster than I can dial a number, and boom, I'm on the phone with the next call. Okay, so I'd like to find out about this one because this might be worth doing. Let's see what it says. Learn more about that. Okay, real estate neighborhood data. How much does it cost just to get that to do circle dialing? They don't put their pricing on here, so I guess it's going to take a phone call to find out. They don't have their pricing here. Sign up. What happens if you sign up? Call for our best offer. So for me, it would be a reactivation of service. I've already had their service before, but there you go. I wouldn't want to, I think I'd have to talk to somebody because I'm in a new market. But anyway, this is where you would go for that. It's been my experience, and I've heard from many, many other people in the business, that Vulcan 7 gives you the best quality data for phone numbers and emails and social media connections to people you need to look up to find out how to reach them and help them. Okay, this is for working with sellers, not really working for buyers. Okay. The next one is called REDX, and I think it's the REDX. The REDX. TheRedX.com. Okay, real estate prospecting platform. Now, when I was a new agent, this is the one I used because it was the cheapest one I could find at the time. All right, cancel that. Okay, so at that time it was like $50 a month. I think it's more than that now. Here is $50 a month, and you can do circle prospecting for $50 a month and get their contact info out of here. Addresses and phone numbers, not emails, but phone numbers in a given area for $50 a month. If you're going to pursue that, that's not bad. All right, getting for sale by owner contact info, $39.99 a month. Again, I think you can find this for free, so I wouldn't pay for it. But for rent by owners and pre-foreclosures are here too. For rent by owners, discover investors and landlords who's ready to list their vacant rental properties. They need help, but agents rarely call them. So that's absolutely true. They're charging $80 for that. Whether it's worth it or not, I don't know. And pre-foreclosures, $50. Now, right now, there's going to be some foreclosures happening, and these people still have equity in their home, but they can't make their mortgage payment anymore. They've lost their job, and they can't get a new one real fast, and they're in trouble and about to lose their home. So they should sell while they can pull their equity out and not lose everything to the bank. So those might be a good source of leads coming up in the next couple months. So that might be worth paying for. Whether or not this is the best service for that, I don't know. But there are services out there you can find specifically looking for foreclosures and pre-foreclosures. Not foreclosures, but pre-foreclosures. Ones who've had a notice of default filed on them. Okay, so here's the REDX. They've got their success stories here, lots of people who've been happy with them and who are making good money using their services. Okay, check that out. And different products they offer. Let's see again what they have. So these are expireds. They give you the contact info every morning. This probably works the same as Vulcan 7. At 7 o'clock every morning in my portal, there would be all the new expireds for the day ready to call at 8 o'clock when the phone lines can open up and call. They don't want you calling before 8 o'clock. According to the FCC, I think it is, that you're not allowed to call before 8 o'clock. But if you wait till 8:30, you've missed the boat. So you got to get up early. You got to be on the phone and ready to go at 8 o'clock to get to be the first one to call them. If you're first, second, and maybe third, you'd have a chance to get an interview with them. If you're number 4, forget it. They've already had 20 phone calls and they're not interested. They're done interviewing agents and picking agents to interview. So now they're going to get mad. That's when you're going to get people to, will you people stop calling me? Leave me alone. Take me off your list. But if you're first, second, or third, you have a chance of getting your foot in the door. Okay. Geo leads for sale by owners, for rent by owners, pre-foreclosure, Storm Dialer. This is their dialer service, and you can add this to your service with them. It makes your calling much faster. When I was, before I got into doing Vulcan 7, I was trying to use Spokeo to find people. And it took several minutes to look them up on Spokeo, several minutes to go through several phone numbers that weren't the right one. And in the end, I had a dead end. When I started using Vulcan 7, that's when I started having success with working on expireds. And it was way faster and less tedious using their dialer and having the leads ready to call for me first thing in the morning. And I didn't have to go look them up. I don't know what Vortex is. Okay, prospecting platform. I guess it's lead manager or something. Okay, so anyway, there's that one. And then the last one we're going to look at is called Mojo. And Mojo is somewhere in between Red-X and Vulcan in terms of cost and reliability of contact data, I would say. Okay, a lot of people like Mojo. Mojo has what's called a triple dialer, and it will call 3 numbers at the same time, and whichever one answers first is the one you get connected to. And and it just keeps dialing through, storming through the numbers. So you can actually handle a lot more with Mojo because of that triple dialer. Okay. Okay, so let's see, pricing. So you tell us what their pricing is? No, it doesn't tell you what their pricing is. You gotta call up and find out. Oh, here we go. Single line dialer, $99 per license and $149 for a triple license. So this one lets you call 300 per hour, and the other one lets you call 85 per hour. Still, 85 per hour is pretty darn good. And I think that's just for the dialer. So if you want to add the kind of calling you want to do, expired data is $50, for rent by owners $25 a month, a neighborhood search is $40 a month, for sale by owners is $25 a month, and skip tracer, which I assume that means they're going to look a little harder for somebody that you can't find, that's $40 a month. So you can, here's your dialer service. You don't have to use their dialer, but if you're going to do this, I would recommend it. It'll make your job much easier. But you can just buy the lead sources and do your own calling. And it might be worth it to do that. $50 a month for expired data is pretty good. Okay. It's not going to be as accurate as Vulcan, but it's a lot cheaper, and it's a good place to start if you're new. Okay. All right, and it comes with the CRM to help manage everybody. Keep track of your notes. Like when you call somebody and they say, well, we're thinking about, we're going to take a break a month, we're going to do some work on the house, and then we're going to relist it in a month. Are you going to remember to call them in a month? Probably not. But this has a tickler in it that will remind you in 1 month, call Joe Schmo, they were going to relist in a month. So that's helpful. You need that. Okay. There's information about FAQ. You can read more about how it works and stuff like that. Answer your questions. Is this a worthwhile service for me to pay money for? Okay. All right, back to our presentation here. Where were we? All right. So I've covered all that. Here we go. Expired, expireds, expireds. There's going to be a ton more expireds on the 1st and the 15th of the month. It's good to get some help on those days. You could, if one of you is buying this service and the other one's not, enlist another agent to help you make those calls and work on the deal together. It's better than not getting a chance to do it at all. You cannot get through all the calls that are going to be available to call on the 1st of the month. You might be able to get through them on the 15th, but probably not. Like I said, you got to be number 1, 2, or 3. And there's 50 or 60 other agents in Albuquerque at least that have this service and using it too. So you're competing with all these other top producers. You can use video email to get their attention. There are extensions you can get on Chrome to do this almost for free, if not for free on Chrome. And you can also use LionDesk, or if you have BombBomb, which is an expensive service I don't really recommend. But there's inexpensive ways to be able to use video email to get their attention. Video emails tend to get opened when a regular email wouldn't. You can also try texting them. And LionDesk has a texting feature in it. You can text them. And you can also reach out to them on social media to private message them and follow their page and be friends with them on Facebook and try to get in that way, okay? Social media is a good way to get connected to people, but some people don't pay attention to it, so you can't count on that. Any questions? Okay, moving on. All right, what do you say to them, right? What do you say? The goal of the call is to find out more about the situation and see how you can help them. And so I've got some questions you can ask, and the idea of the call is to get an appointment. You're obviously not going to get the listing agreement on a phone call. You just want to get your foot in the door to get over there with an appointment to show them who you are and what you can do for them and how you can help them. Okay. You wouldn't ask too many questions on a preliminary call, but I've put 8 or 10 questions here that you could ask, and there's more in my scripts for you that you can ask. Find out, you know, how long they've been trying to sell and what's their motivation and when do they need to move by, where do they want to go next, and what do they think their home is worth, why do they think it didn't sell, how was their experience with the other agent. You got to be careful not to get into agent bashing with the other, you know, tell them what an idiot that other agent is, but they might want to vent. And so you can be a listening board to hear what they have to say, and that will tell you what they're looking for in their next agent. And you could even ask them that. What are you looking for in your next agent? How can I be of service to you? All right, and if your home doesn't sell, what are you going to do next? Are you going to rent it? Do you have to sell because you've moved away to another state and you're not here anymore? Or, you know, what's going to be next for you? Are you upgrading or downgrading your home so that you got an empty nester, or your kids are gone to college now, or you've got a new baby on the way? What are their motivations for moving? All right, I have these helpful handouts that I think I've shared with you. They're in my listing package. And these are the particular ones that I use on expireds. 4 reasons homes don't sell: poor marketing, bad photos, lousy agent, or incorrect pricing. And I explain in a funny, helpful way a little bit about each of those facets of selling a home that I try to mitigate and try to find out what went wrong with their last listing so that I can counter that in my presentation and in my listing approach. I also promise to cancel the listing. If I'm not doing what I'm saying I'm going to do, I will cancel their listing happily. And depending on how bad their experience was with the other agent, I may even give them a pre-signed cancellation that they can just hand back to me when they're ready to cancel if I haven't done what I said I would do. Because they've heard it all before. They've been there, done that with, yeah, right? They're like, yeah, sure you are. They don't know me yet. They have never met me before. They've never even heard of me before until I called them at 8 o'clock this morning. How do they know I'm going to do what I said I would do? Okay, so when you get that appointment, the more you listen, the more you ask questions, the more interested they will likely be in working with you. Try to let them talk. And, don't just, beat your chest and say, I'm the best realtor on the planet. Try to find out how you can help them, and I think you'll have a better success rate. Here and there in the conversation, you want to just let them know about your skills and techniques for getting the house sold and how you're going to overcome the problems they had with their last listing, okay? Don't ever badmouth another broker. That's very unprofessional, and it's going to get back to that other agent one way or another. So talk about the facts, talk about the situation, but don't offer your subjective opinions about the other agent or their work. You can, work around that somehow. Just agree sympathetically with their criticisms, but don't offer your own criticisms, okay? And I know this is hard to do. I struggle with this too, especially when I can see what a lousy job the other agent did and how badly they were treated by that agent too. Sometimes that's the case. And they didn't deserve the treatment they got from that other agent. So the goal of the conversation is to build rapport and ask for the appointment, and have 2 possible times ready to propose. Look at your schedule ahead of time and see where do you have openings in your schedule coming up that you could propose, and give them 1 morning opportunity and 1 evening opportunity and see what works better for them. If they work 9 to 5, probably they're going to want to meet with you after work. If they're retired, they might rather do it in the morning. So see if you can figure out a little bit about their schedule and when would be a good time to propose, and know your schedule in advance to give them 2 options. Would you rather meet on Tuesday at 10 or Tuesday at 6 p.m.? Which one works better for you? And you're more likely to get an answer to that question than if you say, when should we meet? Well, I don't think I have to talk to my wife. Give them 2 options of when to meet with you, okay? Don't be vague like, let's meet sometime next week. Give them 2 specific times. And if that doesn't work, you can put a you can go to calendly.com and get a little widget to link your calendar and send them an email and let them pick a time in your schedule. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay. My air conditioner has gone off. I'm going to turn it on. Be right back. Either that or my temperature went up. I'm not sure which. Okay. So did you know you can also work old and very old expireds? Now this takes a little bit more sleuthing work to do because you've got to check to see if they relisted already or if they've sold already. But sometimes somebody's they tried to sell 6 months ago and they got frustrated and they gave up, but they do still want to move. Nobody's bugging them now. So you can come in and reach out to them without 20 other agents hounding them at the same time for their business. Sometimes they needed to take a break, like holiday. They had illness in their family, or they went to Europe for a little while or something, and they just didn't have time to deal with it. Okay. Sometimes it's because they wanted to make some repairs on the home and needed some time for that. But at any rate, the phone has stopped ringing and you're the only one calling them to see if they'd like to hire you, okay? Just set the dates in the MLS parameters to 30 days to 6 months prior, even a year prior, and just make sure they didn't already relist and resell, because there's nothing more embarrassing than calling somebody and say, do you still want to sell your home? And they say, oh, we already moved. Makes you look a little bit like a dummy. So check out the situation as best you can. Sometimes you can't find out the information because they ended up selling for sale by owner by themselves and it doesn't show up in the MLS. And you can just say, oh, I'm sorry, that didn't show up for me in the MLS. I'll make a note of that. Let them go. Okay, any more questions about expireds? Okay, we're going to move along then. All right, door knocking. All right, has anybody ever heard about door knocking?
I haven't. I've done it before.
Cool. One of our agents, I won't say who, came in and said, I will never do door knocking. No way. And then a few weeks later, she came in and she said, I went door knocking. And I said, well, did you have fun? And she said, actually, I did. So there you go. Amara, what was your experience with door knocking?
I really enjoyed it too. People were pretty nice, and it was something I was planning on doing, but unfortunately, I feel like now the last thing people want is you showing up at their door.
It's not appropriate right now, but in a month, will be. Okay, I love this picture where he's debating about, should I or shouldn't I? It says no soliciting. Does that mean me? I'm not selling Bibles and I'm not asking them to vote for a certain candidate. Will they talk to me?
Pretty much apply.
Aaron, we can't hear you. Say that again.
Oh, I said I think the no soliciting would probably apply to us, though.
Yes,
It should be the definition of soliciting.
And I usually pretend I didn't see it, but that one's kind of obvious. You couldn't pretend you didn't see that little sign, could you? I got kicked out of my spot here. Let me go back to where we were, right there. Okay. So I'm like, I never noticed that. Okay. So what you should know. Everyone dreads this, but it's actually fun. It really is fun. You get to meet your neighbors and you'll have some great conversations with people. It's actually kind of fun. You learn a lot about the neighborhood and you get to talk to real people about real estate. You can coordinate door knocking efforts with other outreach methods for a 1-2 punch. So if you're sending out postcards or if you're circle dialing, this is a great way to supplement that and to actually have it compound your efforts, okay? If you just do one or the other, it's not gonna go anywhere. But if you do both and you do maybe a third one too, emailing or Facebook messaging the neighborhood people, you might have some success. So go regularly to the same area to establish a connection with folks. I was reading one day in Active Rain, which if you haven't signed up for Active Rain, I recommend you do that. There's lots of great information in there. It's free to belong to Active Rain if you're a realtor and you only want access to other realtors' information and blogs. If you want to blog to the public, then it's not free. But I find lots of great information that helps me in my business through Active Rain. And so anyway, in Active Rain one day, I read about an agent who was, he was Black. And so he was afraid that people wouldn't accept him because he was in a regular demographic neighborhood, not a Black neighborhood, but a mixed neighborhood. And he felt like he wasn't going to be accepted, but he started door knocking and he went around and got to know the neighbors. And he said the first month people were guarded. The second month people were a little bit more open. And the third month people were inviting him into the home and say, hey, let me show you my home. Let's see what you think it's worth and stuff like that. So it took 3 months and 3 visits to start to build rapport with the neighborhood people. Okay, so that's what I would recommend to you as well. Okay, start to think of you as one of the neighbors if they've seen you 3 times. Okay, go during the time of day when people are most likely to be home. So if you're in an older neighborhood with older residents, a lot of them are going to be retired. It could even be a 55+ community, and you're going to find people home during the day and more open sometime during the day. Maybe mid-afternoon would be the best time for them. I don't know. And then if it's a working family neighborhood where people are out at work all day and they come home at 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night, you're going to have more success on a Saturday afternoon instead of 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay. In general, I would say 3:30 to 5:30 or 6 is a good time to go, rather than the morning. Okay. Okay. Pro tip. Be sure to talk to people who are out walking their dog, doing yard work, or washing their car out front. And here's a few ideas of what to talk about with them. You want to practice your scripts and dialogues first and have some ideas of things to ask them and things to talk about before you go out there. Because you don't want to be stuttering and stymied about what to talk about, right? You want to make it seem like you already have this down. And you want to ask them if they or someone they know is thinking of selling in the next 90 days or buying, somebody who needs to move in the next 90 days. Or perhaps they have talked to somebody in the last 30 days who's talked about moving and that person still hasn't chosen a realtor yet. You could offer a pop-by gift. One of our agents, Amy, has some clever pop-by gifts that she's been taking around to her neighborhood. Now, obviously, with the COVID thing going on, nobody's should be doing pop-bys. But once we get past this, pop-bys are a nice way to bring a small gift to somebody to say hello. So it could be a little piece of candy, it could be a bag of popcorn, and say, I'm just popping by, and your business card is stapled to it. One of those, like, what do they call them? Light pop or something like that. And they're just a little tiny bag of popcorn, costs about 35 cents a bag. Staple your business card to it and pop by and give them a little gift. With a postcard, not just your business card, but perhaps a postcard with some information about you. Make a pun out of your name. If you have an interesting name that you could make some kind of rhyme or some kind of pun on your name that has to do with real estate so that they'll remember you. I'm sure you've seen bus benches and advertisements of all kinds of realtors who have a name that they can use to relate to real estate. So if you have one of those kinds of names, then you might be able to use that to your advantage too. You can pop by with a calendar or a sports schedule or a kitchen gadget or something, but you don't want to spend, I would say, don't spend more than $1. And if you can keep it to less, even better, okay? You can ask them about their experience in the neighborhood. What do they like about this neighborhood? They have good schools. Do they like the park? Is it quiet? Do they like the hiking trails? What is it about this neighborhood that they like? And you can also find out if they know about any changes to the neighborhood coming up. Are there road improvements? Or maybe the utility lines are going underground and there's going to be a lot of disruption, but when they get it done, it's going to be beautiful. Or there's a new high density development going in, or a high luxury development going in. All kinds of different things could be going on in the neighborhood that if you don't live there, you wouldn't know about. New businesses in the neighborhood that you might want to connect to, okay? You don't want to keep a long conversation going, but at least see what you can find out in a short, quick conversation, okay? Any other ideas you guys have about that? Okay, here we go. So the purpose of that is to build rapport and connection to people, right? And creating trust with your conversation. So you might ask them questions about their house or their home, chat about children and pets or sports teams or hobbies to find common ground. Be curious, be creative, and show your sense of humor. Be respectful when asking any questions about money, because people are going to be guarded and you don't want to be too nosy about their equity position in their home or anything like that. But if they get on that tangent, then, you know, see what you can find out. It might be helpful. Give them a small compliment about their home or about their looks, and that will leave them with a good feeling about you. And you can practice asking probing questions in different ways and find diplomatic, gentle ways to find out more about their situation so that you don't sound nosy, you sound interested. Any questions or ideas about that?
One of the things that I was thinking about as you're going through this is that these are all great, but they're very intimidating for the first time agent or the first time somebody's doing it and getting out there. They're great ideas. So maybe if and I know I'm in Santa Fe and I can work with Roger, but I don't mind going to Albuquerque either. But if we could form like teams, 2 or 3 person teams, and go around together and split it, you know, hey, let's do this twice in the next 2 weeks on a Saturday or Sunday. And whatever we get this weekend, you work. Whatever we get next weekend, I work, or whatever. But if we could do that as a team from HomeSmart, I think that would go a long way, especially for the new folks. And I consider myself a new folk.
I love that idea. Mm-hmm. You can also take a lender with you.
And that's what I was going to say next is I have a lot of mortgage lenders here in Santa Fe that, and even I know Albuquerque because I get the emails, that are always doing lunch and learn, and now they're doing virtually. Maybe we can come up with a way for HomeSmart to do something like that, and target neighborhoods and do a home selling or home buying, open house or seminar or happy hour. And maybe when we come out of this quarantine might be a better time. But
Yeah.
if we could do that as a brokerage, I think we'd do really well.
I love that. I love that.
HomeSmart agents that would love to do something like that with you in Santa Fe, since it's such a higher price point over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little educational thing,
And
that's a cool idea.
and let's come to Santa Fe and do it. I'm open any
Mhm.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can ask Camille. I'll go wherever.
It's easiest to start in your own neighborhood. That's the best place to start, because you've got a reason to be knocking on their door. Hi, I'm your neighbor and I'm a realtor, and you probably didn't know me or know about that. And I just want to introduce myself, and here's a postcard. Simple. And that sort of breaks the ice for you and helps you get more comfortable with going to some other neighborhood that you don't have that connection to. It's no fun having a for sale sign go up on your street, because you could have gotten that listing if they only knew about you.
Right.
So that's a good place to start. And Martin, you live in a very nice neighborhood. I would be knocking on all those doors.
I've been beating them down. Well,
Good.
not beating them down, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Take something of value to give to them, whatever it might be, and introduce yourself.
I hang out at the mailboxes.
Get a dog.
Yeah. Borrow my neighbor's dog and go for a walk.
One thing, see, like my neighborhood has a neighborhood Facebook group,
Yeah.
and there's just regular stuff, and then there's a neighborhood Facebook group just for the buy and sell stuff.
Yep.
So I need to do this. I've been planning on, because there are a couple houses, vacant houses listed in my neighborhood. I need to just go through and virtual home tour and just post that to the neighborhood. Hey, if you're wondering about this house, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Inside,
Perfect.
right?
Excellent. Yes. Do it. That's a great idea. Okay. Choosing a neighborhood to knock. So I already said your own neighborhood's a good one to work. But if you're going to choose another one, which maybe the neighborhood you're in doesn't have enough turnover, it doesn't have the price point you want to work, might be reasons you don't want to work your own neighborhood. Choose a neighborhood you would like to farm. So how do you choose a neighborhood? Well, you want to find a neighborhood that has at least 10% turnover, and the title company can help you with that if you don't know how to do that. And you might be able to figure it out through MLS, but I think it's a little easier if you get some help from the title company, because they actually can pull up everything in a neighborhood, whereas when you're using the MLS, it's only going to pull up sold and active and stuff like that. It's not everything. You need to know what's the percentage of homes that have sold in the neighborhood relative to the number of homes that are in the neighborhood. So if it has 500 homes, you want to see that 50 of them have turned over in the neighborhood in the last year, ideally. Now, some neighborhoods don't have that high a turnover, but they're still worth working. So you'll have to evaluate from yourself, but at minimum of 5, better if it's closer to 10 turnover, okay? Pick the price point that you're comfortable working with. If you're a brand new agent and you've never sold $1 million home, you might not want to start with $1 million homes, but you could do 250 to 350. That's good bread and butter, and that's a good price point to be working with. People tend to be a little bit more financially stable and more, their deals are more likely to close than working with these very low MFA and barely scraping by every nickel to get their down payment. Those ones have a higher tendency to fall out. So if you go too high, then you're going to have a harder time getting people to work with you, as there's just not as much movement in those higher price points. But at the bottom of the spectrum, there's just too much fallout. So a good range is 250 to 450, somewhere in there. And so that's a good price point for the neighborhood. And so that's how I would choose a farm. And the third thing is that there's no dominant realtor in that neighborhood. So go in the MLS and see who the listing agents are for the various listings that are currently on the market. If you see more than 25% of the listings are by a certain agent, you might want to pick an easier battle to start with. Not that you couldn't take over a neighborhood like that or get a toehold in a neighborhood like that, but I wouldn't recommend starting that with your first efforts. Okay, so I do recommend going around your own neighborhood and let your neighbors know that you're a realtor. They probably don't even know that yet. And you want to door knock on people that you've sent direct mailers to. If you've done a circle listing mailing or a just sold or a just listed mailing, go around and knock on those doors after you've done that and say, did you see my postcard, and have a copy of it with you. And they'll say, oh yeah, I think I saw that. Or they'll say, oh no, we didn't see that. We didn't get it. They probably just threw it away. But at any rate, you have something to introduce yourself with if you have that little postcard with you. I also recommend on door knocking on those expireds and for sale by owners and see if they'll talk to you. Sometimes if you just show up, you might actually get in the door. You can door knock on likely sellers that you found on Remine. Remember, we went in there and we did a little neighborhood of a 1 square mile neighborhood, and we picked out who's the likely sellers in that neighborhood. Go knock on their doors and say, hey, I'm just checking in the neighborhood to see who might be buying or selling. You don't have to tell them you showed up on Remine as a likely seller. Are you going to sell? You would want to work on it a little bit differently and say, I'm just checking in this neighborhood to see who might be thinking of selling. Wondering if you know anybody. Okay, I recommend taking somebody with you for safety. You can go alone. I've gone alone, but you feel a little bit better if you have a buddy. So take another realtor like Martin was talking about, or choose a lender to come with you. They're looking for refis and buyers who don't have a lender yet. So they'll come along with you, and they might even pay for the flyers or postcards that you want to give away, so that you don't have any cost involved, which is great for newbies, right? You want to try to minimize your out-of-pocket expenses as you're new. It costs enough to get in this business as it is. So this is a good way to put in sweat equity instead of check equity to get somewhere with your real estate career. Any ideas or thoughts about that? Okay, it's 12 o'clock. We better get going. All right, follow up. These are some apps that you can use to help you. I like Door Knocker Pal right over here. This is an excellent app. It's not free, but I think it's like $15 a month. Some of these are not very inexpensive. And this will help you keep track of where you've been and what the results were when you visited. Okay, and then you can put these leads in your CRM when you get back and create drip campaigns for them to follow up and stay in touch. Okay, you can put them in your Facebook group or in your friends list, and you can follow up by a private messenger. Okay, these door knocker apps are very worthwhile if you're going to do door knocking. Okay, next steps. Create scripts and dialogues of what to say in response to common objections. And I have these to start with for you. I'm going to send them to you. Track your numbers each day. Who did you talk to? How many contacts did you make? How many people did you talk to? Did you get some appointments? I recommend practicing ahead of time with somebody till you're comfortable, and you can tag along with another realtor that's more experienced if you can find somebody who wants to go do this, and schedule a practice run with me or with another agent. Just get out there and do it. Here's your homework. I want you to watch the training videos in the Real Smart Agent panel. There's Did You Know webinars, business builders, and real estate podcasts on these topics. And find seminars and webinars on the internet. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them through Google. You can find them through GAR, on how to find and use some of these services that will help you get these tasks done. There's books out there that you can order on Amazon that will help you as well, and there's YouTube videos as well. And you can Google for more training on the type of prospecting that you're interested in pursuing. There's just way, way, way more information out there. I have a few books you can borrow too. I don't have them handy. My books are at home, but at any rate, I have stuff you can borrow. If you're interested in pursuing one of these avenues, ask me. I've done them all, and I can give you more tips and tricks to help you. And the best thing is to just get out there and try, because you're gonna learn by trial and error more than any other way. I can tell you till I'm blue in the face, but unless you try and you experience it, you won't really learn. Here's some more books to recommend to you. I've read this one, How to Talk to Anyone. I like that one. And I'm working on Fanatical Prospecting. And here's a couple more, Listing Boss and How to Be Expired Master. And there's more. Some of these are available on Audible too. Here's what your real estate pocketbook is going to look like if you don't do some sort of prospecting. You see this roller coaster? We go up, we get busy, we have a lot of work to do, we don't have time for prospecting, we head downward, we get all the work done, we get to here, and we're like, I don't have anything in my pipeline. I better get busy prospecting. You start prospecting, you go up, you up, you got a lot of work to do, can't get it all done, no time for prospecting, you go down again. And this is what it's like as a realtor if you don't prospect. And this is the result. If you don't do any prospecting, this is going to be your result. Okay, so time block this. Eat the frog first, as Tom Ferry says, which means do the thing you don't want to do, which is door knocking and prospecting and cold calling first thing in the day and get it over with. And then you actually have some work to do for the day, right? Because they're going to ask you for a CMA or send you, ask you to send them listings on a certain neighborhood because they want to buy and give you work to do, okay? Time block for it. Make it a priority to get some sort of prospecting in every day. Be diligent and consistent. If you will do this, you will see results in your first month and you will have leads that you didn't have to pay OpCity 35% of your income for, okay? So I think OpCity is great as supplementing your income, but I don't want you to rely on OpCity. It's expensive. I want you to learn how to get some of your own business so that you don't have to pay other people 25 to 50% of your income for leads. I want you to learn how to do your own leads. And just know that if you don't see results at first, the universe is listening and you will see results. I have found when I get busy and I do my prospecting, I'm going to get business from all sorts of directions. Probably not even the direction I'm looking for it. It just comes to me. The universe finds out I'm open for business and that sends me business. So spend an hour every day. That's 5 hours a week out of your 40-hour work week spent on prospecting. It's really not too much to ask, and it will make a huge difference in your business. You can have a 6-figure income business if you will do this. And I'm not kidding. I really mean that. This is what your bank account looks like when you prospect for new business regularly. This is the hard work of real estate business that most agents won't do, and they don't master it. If you learn how to do your own lead generation, you don't have to pay out a huge chunk of your income to somebody else for an email and a phone number. Be the one that's willing to do what others are not willing to do, and you will be at the top of the food chain. Okay, any questions? This is next week's class. We're going to talk about farming more in detail. We touched on it a little bit today. Networking and lead services. And these are all good ways to get business. Some of them are less expensive than others. And there. Thank you for attending Smart Start. Okay. What were your thoughts? What did you get out of today?
I thought it was good, different ways to approach people, different ways to approach, canvassing, knocking on doors, just, saying hello and being friendly.
Yeah, sometimes that's all it takes. What do you guys want to try first? Oh, Amara, we can't hear you. Unmute.
Well, I just said I really want to go door knocking, but I can't right now.
I know, we can't right now.
Meetings I do find inspiring because there's a lot of things that I can't do right now, but just talking about it and getting excited about it, it kind of helps keep the wheels turning. So
Good.
I'm thankful for them.
That's part of the point of this training, is to get you pumped up and excited and show you you can do this. Erin, what did you think? Unmute. There you go.
Oh man, muted. Yeah, somehow I got it on the screen where I can't get everything at once. I can only do the share screen or the. There's also a version of this that people are telling me I should do, which is just call everybody you know.
That's important. Yes, that we talked about that at the very, very beginning, but yes. Mhm.
And you have to do that more than once. Let me
Yes.
tell you what happened, what I found out last week. I was hanging out with a few friends where I work, and one of them said, "Oh man, I've got so much to do. I'm closing on a house." And I looked at him and I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I'm buying a house. I'm closing mid-May." I said, "How come you didn't come to me?" And he said, "You sell houses?" I said, "Well, I'm a realtor." And he said, "I didn't know." And I could have sworn I told him 2 or 3 times. But you have to remind your friends and everybody you surround yourself, if you work, wherever, constantly. That top of mind is critical. Because he looked me straight in the eye and said, "I didn't know you were a realtor." So missed opportunity because I told him once and didn't tell him again.
Yeah. Something I've done that has built up some goodwill for me is I've just gone to a couple of new home builder communities in my area and have met with the sales agents, and and one of them in particular I built up goodwill with because I've just done little virtual tours, and now they're just saying, okay, well, if we get buyers or we get people here and need to listen, we're just gonna send them your way. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but it's only been a week, but it's like I do expect to get some leads that way. Also, I'm going to I've signed up for like a webinar on that new home source home construction, how to use that for leads. Because I've created a Google ad campaign just to get people to go to my new home source website. But it seems like I'm spending a lot of money now, and I'm not sure if it's worth it. I've got one phone call that I haven't been able to follow up with because I wasn't able to call in time, but I don't know. I've paid like $100 so far for that, but I don't know. Do you have any sense of like Google ads to like a
I think Facebook is a lot cheaper and probably more effective for the money. I did the same thing. I created, I put my profile on the New Home Source website, and I created a URL for it called New Home-New Mexico, and I'm promoting that on Facebook. Something I had been meaning to do for a long time. Erin did that this week, and I'm like, why haven't I done that? Just do it. So I did. And same thing that you're doing, I'm promoting it on Facebook. Come check out Any Home in New Mexico on my website. We'll see what happens. I just started it yesterday, so we'll see.
Oh, okay. Well, I started brandnewhomestore.com, but I just put something just out on my Facebook feed, but it still shows up showing new, Erin, whatever. So I would like to ask when we get maybe not here, but like how to better boost, the best way to boost that on Facebook or create a Facebook ad board or what have you. Because I might just cancel the Google ad campaign and just do it on Facebook, but you can maybe.
Yeah, I'm spending, I think, $25 over 2 weeks or something like that to boost it.
Just to boost an ad on your, are you using your business page or your?
I put it on my business page for Camille Victor Realtor, not the business for the office, but for me.
No, I understand that, yeah.
And I put a link, my new URL, newhome-newmexico.com, and invite people to come search for homes anywhere in New Mexico on that site. So if they contact me, I don't know that much about these communities, but that would be my push to go out there and start checking out these new home communities. I want to do new home construction because I have very limited time to actually work with buyers. And this is an easy way for me to get some income without having to go through all of the process of selling with inspections and ORW and negotiating and all that stuff. I love it. So for me, as a busy broker owner, that's gonna hopefully get somewhere. I don't know if it will or not, but we'll see. So.
Okay, guys, I gotta run. I gotta go
Okay,
Okay.
bye, Martin. We'll
Bye.
talk later.
Yep.
What did you put for the ad? Just come check out all the new home constructions? Is
Go
that-
into Camille Victor Realty Pro and see what I put there.
Oh, I will. Okay, good.
Okay,
Thanks.
you can see how I wrote it up.
Okay, thanks.
All right. I'm gonna let you guys go. I've got to grab some lunch and go off to a listing appointment.
Oh, good. Bye.
All right, see you later.
Bye.